Meine sehr geehrten Damen und Herren, auch nach einem sehr gedrängten Mittagessen hat uns die interessante Information.
Ladies and gentlemen, an interesting piece of information. With the last two panels, we demonstrated that our strategy goes all the way down to the ground from the point of view of practitioners and military journalism. So a very profound matter. It wasn't just military journalism. There was a lot of things between heaven and earth that also have a reference to strategy. Now, before asking General Golan to give us his presentation, I would like to ask Colonel Schartner to join me very briefly. Colonel Schartner is offering a short guided walking tour through Vienna for those interested, so he's going to give us some details.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. If you're interested, I would offer a guided tour through Vienna, Friday, 1 p.m. And meeting point would be just here outside the Sala Terrena at the main entrance. Is there anybody interested to accompany us? Approx 2 hours, I presume. Okay, so Friday, 1 p.m., just outside the Sala Terrena. Okay, you're welcome.
General Golan, darf ich Sie höflich Ihren Vortrag ersuchen? Dankeschön.
General Golan, would you please take the floor? Thank you.
I'm going to discuss the issue of national resilience from Israeli perspective. But let me try to define what is national resilience, since yesterday, as far as I understand, not everyone really liked the term, and I can understand why. So let me put it in a very simple words. What is a national resilience? And I'm going to discuss mainly national resilience in context of missile and rockets threat. Therefore, it's the Israeli case. So the definition I use is the following. National resilience is the ability of a nation to prepare for and to cope with major crises made by nature or by man while providing the population important services, maintaining important manufacturing, and recover during crisis and after crisis as fast as possible. This is basically the meaning of national resilience. Before dwelling into the Israeli case, I would like to, probably to put on the screen, but I have no presentation, just so imagine you can see the words, flying in the air just in front of you. And the super principle for national resilience is the following: respect the common people. There is a tendency by authorities, there is a tendency by officials to look at the common people from a superior position. This is wrong. People are not objects, they are partners. It's not some sort of a new age approach, postmodern saying, not at all. It's practical matter, how you approach the people, how you demand them to do something. The moral background for demanding people to do something is based upon the assumption that they can do something. And if they can do something, they are partners. And if they are partners, you have to respect them. Very simple. All right, so now the Israeli case. When I need to elaborate about what are the principles for Israel to overcome the formidable threat we have today in the region, I would say the following. First of all, you need to remember that there is no other nation on earth, as far as I know, that so many rockets and missiles are pointed at this very moment toward its soil. There is nothing like that. And there is an argument whether it's 100,000 rockets and missiles or just, or more than that, 120. So it's really irrelevant. It is a formidable threat that becomes, from day to day, more and more accurate, with better range, with bigger warheads, and with more sophisticated ways and methods of launching. So it's not a diminishing threat, it's evolving threat. They become more and more sophisticated. You don't need much imagination to understand the following. Do you have any idea how many power plants we have in Israel? I tell you, 15. So you can neutralize Israel electricity basically by 15 accurate missiles with a warhead of about half a ton. Not very complicated. How many gas facilities we have at sea? Yes, this is the number. You see well. Yes, it's 2. That's all. All over Israel, we have only 23 hospitals. There are 68 in New York City. So it's really easy to neutralize Israel's most important infrastructure, most important services. So we need to build a system that could cope with such a threat. The first thing, and you need to remember that, you never win wars by defense. So first of all, we need serious offensive capabilities. That's crucial. Because the only way to take, during crisis, to take the threat down, to decline the severity of the threat, is by attacking the enemy. The second imperative is by having well-developed active defense. What is active defense? No other nation on earth has such active defense system like Israel. We have 5 layers defense system. Arrow 3 for the for the very high altitude. Arrow 2 to the high altitude. David Sling to the medium altitude. Iron Dome to the low altitude, and adding to that what we call soft defense. All sorts of measures for electronic warfare in order to jam and to disrupt accurate missiles. This system has been developed since the late 80s, and especially after the first Gulf War in 1991. And up to now, reach a level which is well developed, but still not developed enough. So we work on that on a daily basis. We invest in that by American aid every year about $750 million. Every year, for, I would say, the last 10 years. Beneath these, two imperatives, offensive capability and active defense, we are entering a new professional world of civil defense. And when we talk about civil defense, I would like to mention 6 imperatives. And all these imperatives are about how to make resilience people, resilience public entities, resilience society. It's all about that. The first thing we need to do is to provide our nation early warning system or alarming system. Think about that as the following. If you have no alarm system, then you expose yourself to probability. Rockets comes, you have no idea they are pointed toward you, you still work and do your job, and suddenly you are hidden. This is a very problematic situation. We suffer from this kind of situation during our independence war. You know that during the independence war, Egyptian airplanes started to bomb Tel Aviv vicinity. And they did it for 3-4 times with very primitive bombs, with not much, warheads. But with all that, they killed 135 people, civilians. Unbelievable. Why is that? Because these people had no clue that they are under danger. Not anymore. Today we can provide the citizens of Israel early warning, no matter where they are, no matter what they use on their daily basis. So we can provide early warning by siren, spread all over Israel, by cell phone, by radio, by the internet. So the basic assumption is that every citizen, no matter what is or what are his daily habits, can have early warning if he comes under threat. The second imperative is protecting infrastructure. All right, you get the early warning, so you know you are under threat. What to do with that? As far as I know, Israel is the only country on earth where it's mandatory to build protected room or a kind of a shelter in any new building, in every new apartment, in every new business, in every new infrastructure, no matter what is the nature of this infrastructure. You need to build also a protected room or protected rooms. Therefore, today, about 80% of the Israeli population has some sort of a shelter. Since this initiative began in 1992, this is quite an impressive achievement. The third thing to do, the third imperative, is the knowledge. All right, so we got an alarm. We know we have a protected room. How we combine them together? How do we know what to do? How to prepare the protected room? how much time do I have since I hear the siren to enter the protected room? I need the knowledge. I need some sort of emergency education. And since we are talking about practical issue, it's not enough just knowing that, you also need to practice that. So, in Israel, there are emergency classes for all people in Israel on 5th grade, to all young kids in Israel. It's mandatory. And every firm, every public entity need to provide the workers some sort of emergency education, formally, that made by the Home Front Command. And every second year, we conduct an emergency national exercise. You are well invited to visit. Usually it happened during June or July. Every second year, all of us, all citizens of Israel, practice. The fourth element is strong units. Now you would say, come on, it's not an army. What units are you talking about? Well, there are units in the civilian arena. They just have another names. Local municipalities, factories, public services. Well, you got the idea. Every civilian entity that organizes people in a reasonable number is a kind of a unit. And we need strong units. And we train these units, mainly the local governments, the local municipalities of Israel. In Israel, we have 255 local municipalities. Each municipality has to train at least every 3 years. Not in the national exercise, as its own, particular exercise. The fifth imperative is effective emergency organizations. You need good police and good medical services and firefighters and so on in order to provide people with services they cannot make by themselves. By the end of the day, when everything falls apart, you need these units. And I would say that adding to those organizations who work on a daily basis, which I mentioned already, we have in Israel relatively a formidable power acting in the home front, and we call it the Home Front Command, which consists dozens of battalions, expert in evacuation missions, know how to deal with chemical weapons or chemical agents, and know how to organize people and other public entities in order to strengthen them during crisis. So every local municipality in Israel has its own liaison unit consisting, from 10 to 20 soldiers that enable a local municipality to be connected to the military. Only during crisis, not on a regular basis. But this is the way we structure our system. And the sixth imperative is to neutralize weaknesses before and during the very early stages of any crisis. If you look at Vienna as a public entity, there are points of weakness in Vienna. Disabled people, elderly population. You got the idea. So you can minimize the envisioned problem with this population by helping them at the very early stage. What is helping them? You can take them, to a kind of a shelter. You can evacuate them from the most endangered position. You can bring in to a certain, entity, a company of soldiers to help them. By doing that, we are not allowing weaknesses to become bigger and bigger. So I believe that up to now, you got the overall idea. We cannot command the home front. It's not a military unit. But we can provide civilians the very basic tools to meet the challenge and to win the battle. That's something we can do. It doesn't need some sort of a commanding structure, not at all. What we need is people everywhere with strong sense of commitment, with a feeling of independence in a way that lead them to be active and to create an environment, a kind of a public wave that make everyone help his neighbor, not just his family. This sense of responsibility, public responsibility, is extremely important for successful operation during crisis, and I believe that you cannot reach that without respecting the people, and that's bring me to the point I started with. So I believe right now you can see the overall system, and I can tell you from my experience, I commanded the Homefront Command during CAS-led operation in late 2008, early 2009. And of course, when a crisis erupted, there are a lot of problems that you never envisioned before. This is war. Many unexpected things happen. But if the foundations are strong, if the common people, the local government, any factory, any infrastructure installation, and the emergency organization are all ready to cope with that, it's relatively easy to solve the ongoing problems, and I would say it's ensure your ability to win the home front arena. Thank you.
Questions? General Golan, thank you very much for showing us a picture of the resilience of national resilience of Israel.
You pointed out to get very close to the people, to, let's say, in the demand of protection of Israel, to get them as partners. And you pointed out the early warning system, the air defense, and all those what is needed in order to have and to get a protected infrastructure. Thank you very much for that clear picture you gave us. Now we are coming to some questions.
Maybe I take the...
Yes, please, please. Yes? Yeah. Yes, please, first question, but wait for the microphone, please.
Thank you for your very impressive lecture. I have a question about two groups of Israeli citizens. You have a large group of Arab people and a large group of ultra-Orthodox. How are they included in the matter you are giving us?
Wonderful questions, because I have a very good answer for that. I would say the following. Look, nothing surprised me. I commanded the Home Front Command for 3.5 years. Nothing surprised me more than the reaction of Arabs and ultra-Orthodox to our attempts to organize them for emergency. Why is that? Look at the Arab population. We were very afraid, approaching them. We didn't know what will be their reactions. Practically, the reaction was extremely positive. When it comes to emergency, they become, just regular citizens, willing to help themselves, really wanting to support their communities. So I I arranged 3 companies, rescue companies, taken from the Arab population. And they were willing to wear, IDF uniform, no problem. I had in one village a woman that volunteered for this company. And she told me, look, you didn't give me hijab. The handcrafts, You don't have, military hijab. I told her, yes, you are right. I don't know what to do with that. Don't bother yourself. I'll do it myself. She bought a, fabric in a khaki color, and she tailored her own hijab. And, she worked with us, with, a lot of Arab men, just like that. I tried to approach the ultra-Orthodox. So I approached the chief rabbis of Israel, not only the formal one, also those who are very influential without any formal position. And I told them, look, I need your help. I need to enter the ultra-Orthodox population. What to do with that? They told me the following, no problem. We will command our people to cooperate with you. We want only one thing. All your explanations should be also in Yiddish. You know what is Yiddish? Yes. So, and by that we solved the problem. So we managed to enter all yeshivas and all koilels, and in Israel, that for those who are not familiar are names of, ultra-Orthodox education facilities. We managed to enter them and provide them with emergency education. So basically, I would say that when it comes to a public defense or civil defense, Israel is one entity without differences between the different populations.
Fine. Please, gentlemen, Poland.
Yes, it's really very, very difficult situation. I think that everybody is familiar that your nation really has an unbelievable drama. But if you observe what is going on in different places, for example, North Korea, we can assess that something is possible. Something is possible. And sometimes big change is possible. What is your opinion? What is possible or what should be done by international organizations, maybe by superpowers, finally to solve the situation? Because this drama, if you observe what is today and what will be tomorrow, nothing is better. From one side, of course, you are strong, you have a good umbrella from the United States, it's very clear, but it's not enough. Because from the other side, you have some, not only one, some countries with not only the opposition, with a big criticism, and I can see that their behavior is, the enemy's behavior is not support. How to solve this situation? Because it's not only a problem of Israel, this is a problem of our civilization.
Well, this is a very big question, and I'm not sure whether I'm the suitable man to solve world problems. My experience is a bit different. Instead of asking for, all right, let's solve this once and for all, I would say, which I believe is not very realistic, I would say that our effort should be invested in lessening the problem, make it less severe, creating the right process that diminishing the magnitude of the problem. I think this is the challenge. I don't think that the world is going to bomb Iran tomorrow morning, because the Iranians are bad, Israel are the good. I don't think this will come true, in the near future. But we could make decisions that we define very clearly which countries are peaceful in nature and which are not. And we, the peaceful nations, what we are willing to do, to what extent we are willing to commit ourselves in order to influence on the right direction the less friendly countries. This is a very strong and problematic commitment. In Israel, it's clear. I believe it was quite clear for the United States of America in the years after September 11th. But I think we are not unified enough, and we are not willing to commit ourselves in the right way, which not necessarily by violent means, but enable us really to shape our world. But you cannot achieve that without, a strong sense of commitment. And commitment, it's hard. It's less pleasant, it's less convenient than sitting aside and look at the world and what is happening and just, complaining about that. Complaining is not enough. You need to do something.
Yeah. Next question. Bitte, Herr General. Milotat. Yeah.
From time to time, the philosophy changes in armed forces on the mix of highly mobile, mechanized forces and more static forces, infantry and so forth. What is at the time being the perception or the philosophy of the Deputy Chief of the General Staff of Israel on this?
All right, this is a very big question, but I would say, just very few words about it. The nature of war remains the same, but the applications are going to change dramatically, and they are in a changing process. We don't see much, fighting between armies today. we fight against, entities which on the one hand are very sophisticated and very capable. On the other hand, they don't maneuver. They don't need, tanks and APCs. They extensively use the subterranean. So you need something else. I used to explain that, to young company soldiers by saying that, look, when I was a company commander and I got a mission, all I needed is my binocular. Take it, put it, watching, my mission, and all right, detecting the enemy and make my plan. Today, if a company commander takes his binocular, he sees nothing. Nothing. Usually, he sees, buildings. Buildings and more buildings. Where is the enemy exactly? So we need to provide him different binocular based upon SIGINT and aerial measures and radars and, all kind of things which are the modern binocular. That's what we need. I think that most of Western armies today are not well adapted to the new nature of war. I gave, an example concerning intelligence, but I would say the same is true about, implementing fire in modern battlefield, about the right proportions between infantry and armor units. It's about the nature of future tank and APCs, and it's very much about the way we use the aerial close layer to the ground in a completely different way. We used to think about that, just a few years ago. So, without elaborating, too much about it, I think, some doctrinal work should be done, and it should be done very fast in order to prepare to future war.
Yes, last question. One simple.
Sir, thank you very much for your very interesting presentation. I have a question concerning...
You don't need to be so polite. It's okay.
Honestly. I would like to ask you about long-term strategy development of the IDF. So just recently we had the case that a drone armed with explosives actually was able to infiltrate the Israeli airspace. It was shot down, of course, but you lost an F-16 afterwards, which was, I think, a shock for the IDF. On the other side, we have reports from the Gaza Strip that they were using burning kites. They were even using condoms filled with gas, and we see burning cornfields on Israeli soil. So it looks a little bit that you are reacting always. So how you actually try to develop some kind of long-term strategy when the tactics, procedures and tactics of the adversary is developing so fast?
Well, I think this is the way you portray it. It's a bit problematic. Why? One thing I learned about strategy and its relation with tactical matters is don't let the tactical matters control the strategy. What we have today in the Gaza Strip is a tactical matter. What we had in the Golan Heights, with the drone, it's a tactical matter. Yes, we lost, one aircraft. It's not a shock. This is, Israel is still strong enough, to cope with future challenges. I would say that you need a vision. You always need a vision, but this time it's really crucial. You cannot develop some sort of measure by, using sophisticated technology and solve all problems. For sure, it's also the regular issue of fighting men. It's about determination, cohesiveness, the ability to conscript all your resources in order to cope with the challenge. It's about, patience. It's about, very conventional things that really shape the destiny of a nation. I would say that the real issue is to keep the right level of cohesiveness. No nation, no big public is 100% cohesive. But we need the right balance, where the cohesive forces are stronger than the disseminating forces. And if you reach this, equation, then everything, all the rest is not so important. Yes, we have some tactical problems, and we deal with that. And yes, we react. We react basically because we are a nation of a status quo. We want to freeze the situation. We feel okay. Israel is a flourishing country with wonderful high tech, with a very vibrant society. We like our life. This is not the issue. We want to keep it. And the radical elements around us want to change the situation, and therefore they challenge us on a daily basis. But up to now, I feel that we cope with that in a reasonable way, and we also do here and there some mistakes. This is the life.
Thank you very much, General. We are going to conclude this session. Some months ago, we had a festive event at the reason for 70 years anniversary of the State of Israel, and the Israel ambassador accredited to Vienna. She was here, and she showed us in that time the achievements made by the State of Israel, the achievements of the society in the last 70 years. And she showed us a picture of Israel. Israel is a high-tech country and high-tech society. And you rounded up this picture now, today, from the military point of view. Thank you very much. And I gave you at the last session, I gave you the line, so thank you very much for being here.
A second thank you must be. Es ist mir eine Ehre, dass
It is a great honor that the General has been here and spent so much time with us. And I'm especially grateful for one of his final statements. We have a fairly clear argumentation. Clausewitz talks about the chameleon of war that keeps changing its form but stays the same in its nature. Hofmann and Mettis, the founding fathers of hybrid war and cyber definitions, define it in a large number of publications as an entity that keeps changing form and does not change its basic nature. And you said this very well. No matter what the tanks of the future are going to look like, and no matter how many rotor blades the helicopters are going to have, and so on, the one thing will remain the same. The nature of war will remain the same. Especially, we will always need conventional war. This is the statement behind it. War is not going to change its nature. And here I'm not quite in total agreement with Colonel Hartmann. it's not criticizing the terms relating to hybridity, but the fact that they are being interpreted wrongly, because we keep insinuating that if I combine many different methods that I have developed, I might be able to do without the conventional military. And I think this is the core statement, that we need to recognize hybridity, that we recognize the terms, develop the methods first, but point out the dangers of the wrong developments, and cannot really say that this would not really be possible without any conventional army. We're going to take a very brief break and start the program again with a 35-minute delay. We're going to have one panel here and a parallel panel on international organization in the lecture hall 12, led by Colonel Rosenitz, who will take the people up to the parallel panel.